What did you do? My dad screamed when I said I was pregnant. Mortgage, groceries, electricity, all counted on you. What now? Then he threw a folder at me. Either send $3,200 monthly or get out. I said, noted. So I took my backpack and walked. 16 years later, he knocked on my door begging for a loan. I opened it and introduced him to his landlord. That was just the beginning. You're pregnant. My father's voice cracked like a whip. Not with concern. With rage. I nodded, barely managing to breathe, my hand instinctively resting over my stomach. I had waited weeks for the right moment. Thought maybe if I told him at the right time, calm tone, clear plan, maybe even the ultrasound printout, it wouldn't explode like this. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. What did you do? He screamed again, slamming his hand on the kitchen table so hard the salt shaker jumped. Do you realize what this means? Who's going to pay for the mortgage? Huh? What about groceries? Electricity? Or is your unborn miracle baby going to start flipping burgers from the womb? My mother stood by the sink, silent, her hand frozen around a dish towel. As always, I didn't say anything. I'd learned by now that my voice wasn't something they heard, only something they used. Then he did it. He threw the folder at me. It hit the floor just shy of my feet, documents spilling out like broken promises, bills, ledgers, a printed spreadsheet with my name in bold at the top. Required monthly support, $3,200. My stomach twisted. This is what you'll send. Every month. Starting next week. Or you get out. Got it. I looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, not from sadness, from stress, maybe. From panic. But definitely not love. I bent down, picked up the folder, tucked the papers back inside. And for a second, he probably thought I was going to say yes. Again. Instead, I stood up straight and said, noted. I zipped my backpack. No suitcase. Just the bag I always kept half-packed anyway, in case I needed to disappear fast. He laughed like he thought I was bluffing. I walked. Past the baby photos on the wall they never took down, not for nostalgia, just decoration. Past my sister's room, which still looked like a Pinterest board despite the fact she hadn't paid rent since college. Past my mother, who finally opened her mouth just to whisper, please don't be dramatic. I didn't even slam the door. I walked into the wind with $87 in my checking account and a child growing inside me. No safety net. No apology. No future. Not yet. But I had something more important. I had the clarity that comes when you finally stop begging for a seat at a table that was never set for you in the first place. And I never looked back. 16 years later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it. He stood there, thinner, older, not frail but worn. In his hand, a crumpled letter from some loan office. His eyes searched mine like he might still find the daughter who used to forgive him for everything. But that version of me? She was buried long ago. I stepped aside, and behind me walked out a tall woman with a clipboard and a lanyard. Mr. Dalton, she said, smiling professionally. It's time for your rent review. As of this quarter, your lease terms have changed. I believe you met your new landlord just now. I watched his face fall. I said nothing. Just closed the door behind me as the click of his shock hung in the hallway like an echo. And that was just the beginning. 16 years ago, I walked away with a baby in my belly and nothing else. And for 15 of those years, I paid. Every single month. At first, it was just temporary support. That's what my dad called it when he left a voicemail a week after I left. You're still part of this family, kid. Just cause you moved out doesn't mean you get to check out. We're counting on you. I had just started a job as a receptionist at a vet clinic, earning minimum wage, feet swollen, back aching, baby kicking. But I still wired them $500 that first month. By the time my daughter, Maddie, turned 2, I was up to $1,200. Dad said he was in between contracts. Then he broke his hand, helping a neighbor move. Then the house needed urgent repairs. Then my sister lost her job at the boutique, and somehow, I was expected to cover her phone bill, her car, and her Netflix subscription. I was 24, a single mom, working 2 jobs. And still, I paid. Because my mother would text things like, we're barely eating this week. But no pressure. Or my sister would send voice notes sobbing, I just don't want to end up on the street. You're the only one who ever cared. And every time I tried to say no, my dad would send a simple text. After all we did for you. But here's the truth. They didn't raise me. They used me. They didn't support me. They expected me to support them. And when I finally got promoted, first to shift supervisor, then into operations, then corporate compliance. The amounts changed again. $1,500 a month, then $2,000. By the time Maddie turned 10, I was sending $3,200 monthly to a household I hadn't lived in since I was 16, and I was still made to feel like it wasn't enough. They never called to check on Maddie, never sent a birthday card, but they never forgot to send a Venmo request. My sister, Chloe, was the worst. Always in crisis, always posting on Instagram with hashtags like #SurvivorVibes and #FamilyIsEverything, even when she hadn't seen my daughter in over a year. Once, she tagged me in a post about gratitude and then followed up with a private message. "Can you cover rent again this month? I swear it's the last time." It wasn't. My mother played the enabler like it was a full-time role. Whenever I'd push back, she'd reply with vague, guilt-drenched one-liners like, "You're doing so well. We're so proud. We're just struggling. But no pressure, sweetheart." Then she'd share posts of family dinners I was never invited to. My dad? He was a tyrant with a smile. A bully with a beer in hand and a lecture in his back pocket. He didn't even try to pretend. Once, when I missed a payment because Maddie had pneumonia and I had to pay out of pocket, he left me a voicemail that ended with, "You want to act grown? Then pay grown. Or get used to being cut off from your family for good." As if he hadn't already cut me off the second I became inconvenient. But the worst came last year. They'd asked me to come for Thanksgiving. Said it would be just us, that they wanted Maddie to know her roots. I gave in. I bought the plane tickets. Took time off. Rented a car. Brought wine and groceries and even baked a pie. I walked in, smiling. Maddie ran in behind me with her Hello Kitty suitcase. And no one said welcome. My sister was dressed like she was going clubbing, scrolling her phone. My mother barely looked up. And my dad? He clinked a beer against his buddy's bottle and yelled across the room, "Look what the ATM dragged in." Then, and this is real, he actually introduced me to his friends as our oldest daughter, the one who got pregnant too young but pays for our lifestyle anyway. They laughed. I froze. Maddie clutched my hand, whispering, "Mommy, can we go now?" I should have left, but I didn't. Not yet. Because 2 days later, I saw something that flipped the switch for good. I was helping my mom load leftovers when I walked into the den and saw it. A file folder on the desk, labeled Cash Flow, BX. Bex. That's what they called me when they were being sweet. But this folder wasn't sweet. Inside were printouts. A spreadsheet. Color-coded charts. It was my income, broken down by paycheck. They had been tracking me. Line items said things like, potential raise Q2. Bonus estimate, maternity return, possible reduction if kid gets braces. There were notes scribbled in the margins. One in my dad's handwriting said, if she refuses increase, mention Christmas. She softens at holidays. I stood there shaking. For a second, I thought, maybe it's just budgeting. Maybe they're trying to stay afloat. Families do strange things under pressure. They weren't asking for help. They were managing me like an investor manages a passive income stream. And the moment I turned around, my mom was there. She saw me holding it. She blinked, didn't even look ashamed. Just said, please don't make a scene. You know how your father gets. That night, I emailed a lawyer. Then I dug out my old hard drive. I had screenshots, Venmo requests, voicemails, texts from Chloe saying she was using me but didn't feel guilty. Audio of my dad yelling that kids always cost, never pay back. Even the fake GoFundMe my mother posted once for emergency roof repairs while they were in Cancun. I had it all, and I wasn't going to let it slide anymore. They thought they knew me. They thought I would always cave. They thought pregnancy made me weak. They had no idea what I'd become and what I was about to do. 16 years of nothing. And then, on a Tuesday morning, he knocked on my door like he never left. I opened it slowly. There he was, my father. Older, thinner, but not softer. Still wore that look like the world owed him a better story. Hey, Bex, he said, rubbing his palms. Look, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't in a bit of a situation. I didn't say a word. Just leaned against the doorframe. He cleared his throat. You remember that house we used to live in? I'm still renting it. But the rent went up. A lot. I don't know what kind of corporate jackalls bought it, but they jacked up the price overnight. And with everything happening, you know, the economy. He smiled like we were catching up over coffee. I figured maybe you could spot me. Not forever. Just till I find something steadier. Just a few grand. Maybe 5? 6. I blinked slowly. Then I opened the door wider. Behind me stood a woman in a blazer, holding a clipboard. Her name tag read Property Manager, Eastvale Asset Group. She looked up at my father. Mr. Dalton? We've spoken over email. I'm here regarding your delinquency on the property at 415 Golden Creek Drive. His eyes jumped between us. What? I stepped forward and smiled. Dad, I said, calm as thunder before the storm. Meet your landlord. His face collapsed. Like someone unplugged his pride and it drained out through the cracks. You, he said. Me, I nodded. 8 years ago, you defaulted. House went into foreclosure. I bought it through a holding company. Kept it quiet. Thought you might notice who you've been sending those late checks to. He shook his head, lips twitching like he was trying to reassemble the right emotion. No, that can't be. Oh, but it is, I said, reaching into the drawer and pulling out a familiar object. A folder. Faded blue. Corners bent. His handwriting across the front. Rebecca, $3,200 per month or get out. I dropped it onto the table between us. Remember this? I asked. I do. I've kept it. Every page. He didn't move. I reached beside it and placed a second folder, fresh, clean, thick. I opened it slowly. Here's the total I sent you between the ages of 19 and 34, I said. Itemized. Cross-referenced. Annotated. His eyes darted down the page. Total, $612,480.94. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. The manager beside me cleared her throat and passed him a new document. This is your final notice. Lease termination. You have 14 days to vacate the property. His hands trembled. I didn't do this to hurt him. I did it because I finally understood. Protecting my peace sometimes means closing the door on people who leave it in ruins. You're evicting me? He choked. I'm letting you go, I replied. Just like you let me go when I told you I was pregnant. Except I'm giving you notice. Which is more than I ever got. He tried to laugh. You wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for me. No, I said. I'd be flying higher. He took a shaky step inside. Then a small voice echoed from the hallway. Mom? Who's at the door? My daughter stepped into view, tall, confident, smart eyes, my whole world in Converse sneakers. He stared at her like a man seeing a ghost. That's her? He whispered. She looked at me. Is this the man from the photos you burned? I nodded. This is someone we used to know. She tilted her head. Is he staying? I smiled. He's just leaving. The manager nodded. We'll need your signature, Mr. Dalton. He looked down at the lease, then at me, and suddenly he tried to pivot. Maybe we can work something out, he said, voice lowering. You're clearly doing well. We could. I don't know. Share the story? Father returns, daughter forgives. That stuff goes viral. You've got the house. I've got the drama. We'd kill online. My jaw clenched. You want to monetize my trauma? I asked. He grinned. It's exposure. I stepped forward, close enough to smell the stale cologne he probably sprayed on, hoping it made him smell like a father again. You taught me family is a transaction, I said. So here's my transaction. You pack, you leave, you vanish. Or I raise the rent to market rate, terminate the lease legally, and make sure your next address has 4 numbers. He froze. You wouldn't. I leaned down and whispered. I rewrote the contract. Just like you taught me. He looked past me, at the woman holding the clipboard, at the girl watching silently, at the 2 folders laid out like a courtroom exhibit. Then he walked out. Slow. Silent. Heavy. Like gravity finally remembered who he was. I didn't follow. My daughter walked over and closed the door. It latched with a small, satisfying click. She looked up at me. He looked like someone who used to be important. I nodded. That's exactly what he was. And outside, for the first time in his life, he had no keys. They didn't pay a cent. Not on day one. Not after the formal notice. Not even when the property manager emailed them the final eviction documents with a polite, automated thank you for your tenancy. Nothing. No apology. No explanation. Just a Facebook post from my father. A blurry screenshot of me speaking at a work event, cropped with spite and filtered through delusion. The caption read, "Some people forget where they come from." Sad. No likes. No comments. Only silence. It was perfect. 14 days later, the house was mine again, fully, legally, physically. They were gone. No warning. No goodbyes. Just a half-packed suitcase left behind in the laundry room, a cracked phone charger in the hallway, and a fridge full of expired food and neglect. I walked through the house like it was a museum of dysfunction. In the master bedroom, the same bed frame he used to sleep in, the one I helped buy when I was 20, still creaked with every breath of the floorboards. In the drawer of the nightstand, I found the original printout of that folder, the one that said, $3, 200 or get out. He'd kept it, like a trophy, like a reminder that once I had no choice. I picked it up and smiled. Then I burned it in the kitchen sink. No ceremony, just flame and water and quiet. 3 weeks later, I listed the house for rent. It didn't take long. A young couple, Rachel and Dev, signed within days. She was a nurse. He taught literature at the community college. They had a toddler who liked to name things: door, cup, cloud. On move-in day, I handed them the keys and said, "This house deserves better stories." And I meant it. 2 days after they moved in, I got a message from Chloe. Not a call, not even a voicemail. A single line in my inbox. "I'm pregnant. I don't know what to do. You're the only one who's ever handled life." I stared at the screen. The same woman who once laughed when I said I couldn't afford daycare. Who told people I trapped a man with a baby when I was 19. Who called me dramatic for walking away from the family. And now, she wanted me to fix it again. I didn't reply. I didn't even delete it. I just blocked the number. Because I knew exactly what would happen if I answered. If I answered once, the door would never truly close. And this time, I wanted the silence to be permanent. I changed my number. Deleted every family contact. New phone, new email, new emergency contact list at work. Even the group chat thread titled Dalton Family, gone. Archived. Burned like that folder. The only thing I kept was a single note in my journal. Written in clean, black ink. They don't exist in this chapter. Not even in the footnotes. A few weeks passed. Quietly. Peacefully. The kind of peace that doesn't ask for applause. It just breathes. My daughter, now 16, took to the new rhythm instantly. She started reading again, poetry, mostly. She brewed coffee in the mornings, strong and bitter, and told me it tasted like closure. I laughed. We didn't talk about what happened. Not in detail. She was there. She didn't need a retelling. But some mornings, I'd find her by the window, staring at the sky like she was trying to make sure the past wasn't crawling back over the horizon. It wasn't. I made sure of that. Then, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name, written in my mother's cursive. I didn't open it. I held it over the trash can for a second, then changed my mind. I walked out to the balcony, lit a match, and burned it corner to corner. The paper curled like regret, and I watched the ashes fall with a stillness I hadn't known in years. Some things don't need closure. Just a lock. I drive past the old house sometimes. The porch has new flower pots. The curtains are open. There's chalk on the driveway in the shape of suns and stick figure animals. Rachel sends me updates once a month, mostly rent receipts, sometimes a photo of their daughter holding a stuffed penguin named Carl. The place feels like it finally exhaled. And me? I go home to a quiet apartment where no one screams, no one guilts, no one owes me anything. Where the fridge is full, the bills are paid, and the laughter, when it comes, is real. Last Friday, my daughter and I were sitting at the table, eating pancakes for dinner. She looked up from her book and asked, casually, "Do you ever miss them?" I paused, not to think, just to breathe. Then I took a sip of coffee and said, "Sometimes I miss the idea of what we could have been, but not what we were." She nodded. No drama, no follow-up, just peace. And that was more than enough.